Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that you have about your health and fitness goals. Now, this one came directly from someone that I know. I won't mention names just because in case they don't want anybody to know, but this question is about how the effects of THC from using cannabis affects your health, or how are there effects from it to your health and your health goals. So I have to first make a disclaimer and say this is absolutely not my area of expertise, although it's a very interesting part of research. Like, of course, anywhere that's within the nutrition and the health industry at this point, there's so much great information coming out right now about the benefits of just different things. Of course, you know, if you look past through history, it's unfortunate that health and nutrition have kind of taken a back seat to research. Unfortunately, it's because anything that has worth money is usually to promote something that is unhealthy for us, so they try to make it confusing or cover it up, and that's, you know, serious downside to that. But as technology gets better and people are more interested and there's a lot of demand for the information, you know, even things, I just watched a documentary on magic mushrooms and LSD that I found super fascinating. So, you know, I think that in some cases there's a lot of benefits to be researched, and so some of those things are starting to come out, and I find that really, really amazing. So again, disclaimer, this is definitely not my area of expertise. I had to really do some digging, and even then there's a lot of information that's more anecdotal, especially when it comes to athletes and the use of any sort of marijuana, predominantly because, of course, most of the research is done on rats, and that's a really hard one to, you know, take from a rodent to human health. Like, that's just a pretty big difference. So, you know, we'll see what happens and what's coming, because now that, of course, weed is legal in the state of Washington, as well as some other states, Colorado, I think that, you know, there's still a little bit of stereotyping going on, and so I think that is also a downside of getting some of the information and research that we need. But as it becomes more prevalent and other states are accepting it, I think that we're going to see some more research. And so I find that fascinating. Now, I find it really interesting. When I first started to lift, I had a couple of lifting buddies that would do what they had a wake and bake morning. And I was like, well, I don't even understand what that means. And so they had to kind of fill me in as to what that meant. And they liked lifting weights, you know, with being stoned, which, I mean, okay, you know, more power to you. So, you know, there are some upsides, there's some downsides, and like anything else, there are some risks. So it really comes down to what are you looking for? Again, not my expertise, so you might just want to do some research on your own. There's some good information. Muscle and Fitness has a couple of articles on it, as well as Ben Greenfield, who I find super interesting. He's very into optimal health, and he's actually from Spokane, Washington. He lives up there somewhere off the grid, which I find really interesting. I've read a lot of his stuff, and he has several podcasts involving doctors that do research on it. And so if you just Google Ben Greenfield and weed, you're going to come up with some good information, as well as some podcasts and videos you can watch. So let's just kind of cut to the chase. So again, there's some benefits. They really are finding that not just medicinal marijuana, but in general, there are some huge benefits. And I did take notes because you know me. So make sure I get this right. Now, I know I put THC because that is the one that is more psychoactive. Part of the drug, of course, you got CBD and THC and a lot of options, especially here in Washington, because we have dispensaries everywhere. You can get edibles and you can get blends. And so again, not my expertise. So I do know, because I've had friends, that the different strains of the product, you know, that you have the indica and you have the sativa, and I know they both do different things. One is more a little more calming and the other's the high. So again, some of these pieces of information are just specifically on marijuana in general, and some of them, of course, it depends on what strain, what type, and on those kind of things. But again, it's not my area of expertise. So what I'm saying is I don't have a deep knowledge of this, but I did do research because I found it really, really interesting, and not a bad thing to research. So, all right. So, really, I think like I said, the biggest downside of the research and the information that's out there really is a lot of it's just so anecdotal, because of the legal implications of it, because it's been the way that it's labeled as a drug still federally in the United States. There's just really not the research done that you know, it would be good to have. Now, I do know that most world organizations to do with athletes have banned it as even though it's really not a performance enhancing drug. As a matter of fact, in a lot of instances, it's quite the opposite of that. But because of its legality, not just within the United States, but internationally, it's still a banned substance. But again, if you go and kind of, in the background of a lot of high functioning athletes, even Olympic level athletes, there is quite a bit of use. Now, the predominant reason to high efficiency, or the athletes that are really high performance, a lot of it is to help with ease the pain and the how hard it is on their bodies. So again, there are definitely some big benefits when it comes to healing, recovery, and reducing inflammation, especially within joints, that a lot of athletes have found that it helps in that situation. Especially a lot of it revolves around pain, where maybe they were prescribed some opioids, and that of course has become an issue. I don't think just within our country, I think as well around the world. So they've kind of tried to get away from that, and so because of the addictive quality of opioids, marijuana is a different option that a lot of athletes will use because of trying to deal with the pain. Because it is more of a natural painkiller, and it also helps with soreness and muscle spasms. Now, again, I'm not going to tell you. I did do some research as to which part of cannabis offers that, whether it's the CBD or the THC, and which strain. I don't have enough information on that at this point. I do know that a lot of the topical options and some of the over-the-counter options these days, of course, have no psychoactive high, and are safe for even use on children, such as like I said, topical options for pain. So again, there's some different things that you can do some research on and see if it's something that's right for you. I think it's going to be different for every person because, of course, your body reacts differently to it. But muscle spasms, it can ease anxiety. However, there's research shown that it can also cause anxiety, so you have to be careful there. Some athletes say that it helps them focus. So I personally haven't had that experience. So some say sensory awareness, and definitely a higher pain threshold, especially for really long, demanding workouts that are highly intensive, and also conditioning wise. So again, there's, and honestly, there's a lot of bodybuilders who say that they really appreciate, like during some workouts, that they have those options. Again, I don't know that personally, but just things that you can think about. So definitely do some more research into it. Find out if there's something that works for you. I would say helping reduce inflammation is huge, especially in this day and age when we have a lot of aches and pains. A lot of it not stemming from being an athlete, but not a bad option to check out. Now, there is some research on whether or not it hampers muscle growth. Not enough information to really give a definitive answer, unfortunately. So there's some information that says that it can reduce the amount of growth hormone that you produce. Again, I think it's kind of like any other health science that we really are dealing with, especially like nutrition. We had such bad information for so long on nutrition. Everything from, fat makes you fat, which is no, that would be sugar. And things like saturated fats are bad for you. They're not. I think we're going to have the same issue where until we really get some really good definitive answers to that, we're going to kind of play the guessing game and also have to rely on anecdotal information. Anecdotal just means that, somebody had that response or that's what they felt they got from it, but there is no double-blind study. So there is no way to say definitively that is something that produces. So however, on anything, there are some risks. And of course, I think that, first of all, teenagers should not be using it because it does present a problem in reducing their ability to, let me check my notes to make sure I say this right. And now I'm not going to be able to find it. That it does not benefit their growing neural connections in their brain. So probably not a great option until they're fully grown. I know some do anyway, but some other definite downside or risks can be that if you're smoking it, it can do damage to your lungs. Now, a lot of the research shows that it's not the same damage that cigarettes do, but again, it still can cause some issues. And there are, depending on what you're using, where you got it, and whether it's, a strain that's not damaged or includes pesticides or mold or any of those kind of things, there still can be some things that can happen there. So you have to be careful. Obviously, most of you know that it can impair motor skills. Definitely can decrease reaction time and stability. Can be harmful. Harmful to developing brains. Just found my notes on that. There's also some information that long-term usage can actually cause a likelihood of depression and some psychiatric disorders. Again, until I really see more information and more research on that, I'm kind of like, prove it to me. And that's how I feel about everything. I read so much information in a lot of aspects of health, and if there's really good information to back it up, like I've seen it from other researchers, doctors, it's coming out multiple times from different directions, different studies, then I tend to believe it more than if it's just kind of a, well, we heard that this thing said that, or, we read one paper, I'm like, I really want you to prove it to me. So give me some more information before I truly understand that. So, and again, that's how I've taken the whole nutrition aspect of health, because there's so much bad information. It also has been linked to an increased risk of heart attack when exerting extreme physical exertion within an hour after taking it, smoking it, whatever you want to call it. Again, I saw that in a couple places, so take it for what it's worth. And I think that was really high levels of THC. So again, keep that in mind. Like I said, there's actually quite a bit of information. If you start researching and Googling it and digging into the information, you'll probably see some good information there. So keep that in mind. Again, I know that there's so much great thing, if you look at technology and you look at the explosion, it's not just a linear amount of information coming out. Everything is exponential at this point. So I really see within the next few years upcoming that we'll really start to get some more information really to the benefits and the risks of a lot of things that are technically still considered illegal in a lot of states and countries. So we'll just keep watching. I think for this, it really comes down to what do you need it for? If you are doing something that needs a lot of focus and hand-eye coordination, probably not your best option. However, again, for a lot of athletes that need the recovery, they need to sleep better, because sleep is a great option. Matter of fact, I read an article about how smoking is okay if you're trying to get to sleep, but edibles are better if you're trying to stay asleep, because they take longer to hit your system, which makes sense, right? So again, for an athlete who's struggling to get enough rest, we know that rest and recovery is the number one thing that we need. It actually trumps exercise. Not only that, if you're trying to grow in size or strength, you need the recovery and the sleep just as much as everything else. And if you're struggling to get enough sleep, there can be some benefits there. Now, really quickly, as for the fact that many people get the munchies, that may not benefit your health goal if you're really trying to lean out to lose weight. If it's enhancing that part of your brain that actually stimulates hunger. Now, I've heard some bodybuilders will use that when they are required to eat an expansive amount of food and they're struggling to get that much food in. A lot of times they will utilize this portion of this option in order to get more food in to grow, because it does require a surplus of calories, the right kind of calories, in order to grow muscle, especially in a very short amount of time. You have to eat a lot of food. I find it funny that women freak out. They're like, well, I just don't want to look bulky. And I'm like, oh, honey, you do not eat enough food. You do not produce enough testosterone to get bulky. So, honey, cupcakes make you bulky, not lifting heavy. So again, it really everybody's so different. So it's really hard to say, yes, no, this is what's going to happen. It really comes down to how you respond to certain things. So if you get the munchies and you're trying to lose weight, probably not the best option for you. So anyway, that was a great request from somebody I know very well. So hopefully I answered her question. Again, there's some great information. It doesn't, just Google it, tons pop up. And of course, never take it at face value. You should always compare information and see if you can find it in multiple sources that are, what's the word? Yeah, it's definitely Wednesday. Proven sources that, even though this day and age, I don't trust a lot of media sources at all. So you should do your own research and really, like I said, compare and contrast and see if it really has some facts behind it so that you can make the decision yourself. So have an incredible evening. It is October. It's the middle of October already. Yeah, wow. What an interesting year. We've decided at my house it should be the year that shall not be named. I don't know. Maybe we should keep it and learn from it. I think that would be a big part of it. So have an incredible evening, you guys. These do get posted up on my YouTube channel under Fillmore Fitness. So if you have a hard time finding it later, I do post them after I'm done too. So even if you couldn't watch it live, you should still be able to watch it at some point. You can also ask me any question you want, because if I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. Kind of like I told you tonight that this is not my expertise. But we can do research together. I find it really fascinating, and I get my very best ideas from you guys. So you can also direct message me on Facebook Messenger. I answer. So have an incredible evening, you guys. That is Q&A Wednesday. Have a good night.